Yes, good evening. As I've completely messed up the banners, this is where I miss Perchy. Where are you, Perchy? I am going to remove the banners. I have no idea what I'm doing without the banners. There we go. We'll just go with this for the moment. Guys, big up. Welcome back to the Spurs review. Unfortunately, we're in an international week and everyone hates international week these days. But look, we've brought on Iggy from Tottenham away. Big up, Iggy. How are we doing?
Big up. Good, mate. How are you?
Yes, I'm not too bad.
International Boredom Week, as I said earlier on.
It's
insane,
it really is. It really is. And also brought on Alan and his mustard wall and his famous little wooden chair. How you doing, bro? You good?
I'm doing good. It's all famous. Thank you for having me. Again, agree. Absolutely bored this week because of international football and watching England. So, yeah, hopefully not long now, get back to Spurs and, yeah, let's get into it. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. I always feel like the chair's just a bit too small. I don't know. I just feel like it's just a bit too small.
And that's why.
Yeah. You're hench. You're a massive guy. Big up as well to Jordan. Not been on for a while. How are you, sir? You well?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Like you say, it's been a while, so I'm sure the first part of this will be me just shaking off the rust, really. But yeah, no, good to see you, mate. Good to be back on one of these.
Yeah, good to have you as always. And yeah, listen, as per the intro, as you can tell, I like David Ginola. In case anyone couldn't tell from the intro, there was
more player.
Oh God, Iggy, I miss him so much.
Imagine an Ange team with him, Gaza, and Bale.
Oh man. Don't worry, we've got Kulu, Solomon, and Richarlison, so we don't need Ginola. Listen, there's a little soundbite in there that you heard where you probably heard me saying, "We're doing it again. We're getting too excited." And the reason I bring that up is, look, it was all going so well, wasn't it? It was all going so well. Everyone's talking about, oh my God, beat Chelsea and Wolves. We're top of the table going into the international break. No one can beat us. We could go invincible. No one can beat an Ange team. Then we completely implode at Chelsea. Then we implode in the last 5 minutes against Wolves. Iggy, let me start with you. You're always a calming voice of reason. Reason for people to be concerned? Was this inevitable? Did everyone get a bit too excited and we've got to temper expectations, or are we going to bounce back now with 3 or 4 wins in a row?
No, look, for me, I've said it from the beginning of the season. For as long as we've got the 11, 12 players that we all know that are fit, I'd be happy to go against anybody in the league. Anybody, home and away. I'm convinced that our 11 or 12 fit players will manage it. Unfortunately, I did also say that the moment we have 1 or 2, 3 players, for whatever reason, maybe a dip in form or injuries or suspension, we'll come unstuck because then we'll be pretty much the same as last season. And if you notice against the Wolves, we were like last season. We had, other than the goalkeeper, our new signs were all out. So yeah. We was back to where we began. Chelsea, listen, I felt we would have beaten Chelsea. I thought we started off really well. And then obviously everything just happened. And everything that could have happened against us went against us, as in the injuries, sending offs, etc. But up until that point, I thought we would have dealt with them at home. We was ready for them. Wolves is a tough one, man, because it's like we had to make calls that we didn't want to make. We had to bring players back that we didn't want to see. So it's a tough one. And it was only like, a few minutes away. And our terrible game management made that we allowed them back, not only to come back, but to win it. So look, we started off well. I could see why fans, man, are excited with the way we were playing, excited with the results that we were getting in. Probably like 10 in a row or however many we won. Wasn't expected by any of us, if we have to be honest. Maybe we started dreaming. We started heightening our expectations. Obviously, the last 2 games have knocked us back to, and it just reminded us just how vulnerable we are for the moment we get a few week suspensions and injuries. So, and here we are. But we have been, I have to say as well, to balance it, we have been really unlucky with some of the, the sending off can happen. But to lose Madness and Van der Ven for as long as we have, and it's not like a niggle or 1 week or 2 weeks. Literally, see you later. We'll see you in the new year. That's unfortunate. But Savva, we said we needed an extra centre back. We said all of these things, and now we're there now.
Yeah. Well, listen, look, absolutely. Listen, I can't disagree with anything you said there, Iggy. Normally, I like to go, hang on, but I can't disagree with any. No, I can't disagree with any of it. I can't. Jordan, let me bring you in here. Look, I told you so is a very easy in life, let alone in football, right? But Iggy's right. I think most fans that were trying to keep their feet on the floor did say in the summer that, listen, not buying a centre half other than Mickey van der Ven, it's going to bite us. And for ages, people were going, oh, stop willing our players on to get injured. And, it feels like the inevitable has happened. Is it poor planning or are we unlucky? Or is it a bit of a mixture of both, Jordan?
You're right, and Iggy is right. But it depends how you look at it. I think it's indicative of where we are in a process and a project and all that kind of stuff with new managers getting rid of Harry Kane and getting rid of Harry Kane getting rid of us, right? But new players coming in. I think we looked at the first game of the season. It was a brand new back five bar Romero, I think it was, or back four. But I think it's indicative of that. But it's poor planning in the sense of we know what we needed. We identified that we needed more than one first team centre half to come in before the start of the season. But what did we expect? I think is the question, right? And I think it's actually not a negative, but going the first 9 or 10 games unbeaten, I think, and then losing those 2 games, you sort of whipped up this hysteria for the first 9 or 10 games where everyone then thinks we could potentially win the league and all that kind of stuff. And then things do come unraveled against Chelsea. But I think you would have been better off and you would have had less of a reaction to go, all right, the squad is horrific and we terrible plan and all this kind of stuff if those results had been sprinkled into the first 10 games and we'd have maybe lost the second or third game and then the 8th, but we'd have won the rest. Do you know what I mean? So I think you're right. I think it is poor planning. I think there's elements where we can look at the board, the transfer strategy, places we didn't actually go out and do what we needed to do. But actually, when you look at the whole of where we are, we're ahead of where we should have been.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that's a really good point. I've not really thought about it in that light before, Alan. Had it have not been 10 games without losing and then all of a sudden 2 at once, if that had been, we played 12, but we lost after the first 3 or 4 games, then we lost after our 8th game. Yeah. We'd all be going, okay, this is okay. This is fine. Is it because it was 2 back-to-back? One was against Chelsea, who, let's be fair, I feel like we've kickstarted Chelsea into scoring goals for fun. 4 against us, 4 against Man City. And then it's against a Wolves team that, again, another team that struggled to score goals, Alan. But is that what's making it worse? It was 2 on the bounce?
It is. I mean, what's making it worse is that we're a victim of our own success at the start of the season. So going 10 unbeaten, I mean, if you would have asked Spurs fans, well, most Spurs fans said before the start of the season, we'll take top 6, we'll see how we go, learning season, this and that. Because we won 10 or we were 10 unbeaten at the start, that's what made everyone start going, that's where all the crazy talk, we could win the league, invincible. And I was on my channel and others going, well, no, relax, calm down, as well as others were. It was because of that why fans got ahead of themselves. It was the 2 back-to-back. I think what's happened is that because we lost to Chelsea, or obviously it was a really bad showing, because we've done so well in the first 10 games, everyone's expecting that's the caliber, that's the level we're going to be at, regardless of who we got in. We should be beating Wolves because of what we've done in the previous 10 games. The Chelsea game was an anomaly. But to be fair, it wasn't, because with these type of players, which we've seen under every manager, it doesn't matter whether it's a defensive manager in Conte and Mourinho or whether it's an attacking manager in Ange Postecoglou, some of these backup players that come into this team are not good enough, and it's time for sentiment to go out the window, get rid, and we rebuild. We should have got more in the summer in regards to another centre-back, maybe another winger, because obviously we're short in them departments. We all discussed this numerous times on all different channels. But we dragged our feet. We got one signing, a quality signing in defence. But where we could have done where we could have done business quicker and sooner, we probably could have got a second defender in, and then we wouldn't have to rely on a Dyer, or maybe when we come back, throw in a Phillips that's going to come out of that's going to be a test in itself. But that's because we should have done that. But I think because we've been so long since Poch, fans have just let their imagination run away with them, and obviously it's 2 games back to back. I agree with what Vaughan said. If it had been after 3 games and then after 11 games, something like that, then fans would be like, all right, we're doing well. But yeah, it's 2 back-to-back after such a good start. And to be fair, we're going to get into it on this show. It could even be 3 or 4 or 5 back-to-back.
Well, funny you should say that, because my segue to Iggy was going to be, it is only 2 games, Iggy, but that could very, very quickly, and at the risk of sounding negative, actually it doesn't matter. I could say everyone have £1 million and they still call me negative, so I might as well just go with it. Iggy, it could so easily be 3 or 4. We've got Villa and Man City coming up in the next 10 in the next 10 days, right? So we play Villa and then and these 2 games now, 2 teams that both score a lot of goals against this back 4. Will it be a disaster if that does happen, Iggy? If we get to lost to Chelsea, lost to Wolves, lost to Villa, lost to City, is that then disaster?
Listen, I don't think we're going to lose both of those games. I'll be honest with you. I don't think we will. Man City away is going to be tough. Needless to say, I think it's going to be tough to go there for any club, let alone us. But I think at home, I do fancy, even with this team that we've got right now, I still think we've got something about us at home. The Chelsea, listen, the frustrating things, like you said, if we had lost one at the beginning and one, it wouldn't be so bad, no. But the more frustrating thing is like when Ange has had his 11, 12 players that was on about, I was happy. We would all have been happy keeping them fit. And like I said, it hasn't happened that we've lost those games with those 11. We've always lost games when we've either changed the whole team against Fulham in a cup and went out. Within the Chelsea game, we know how it went, and the Wolves game, we played who we played, and we just, like I said, it was like last season's team. It had so many. It was literally like watching a game from last season, the way we played and the way we just managed the whole thing. But to answer your question, look, I don't know if what the next 2 games. Listen, there's a tough run of fixtures. There's definitely that we can say, and it's just. It's just a shame that, because also I have to say this before I forget, we as fans, and I include myself, and perhaps maybe we could all include ourselves in this, we have no balance. We're either like up there or we're down here. Like there's no there's no middle ground. Like we tried to say, do you know what? It's at the end of the day, it's 2 defeats, but you've got to look at it how they've come. Both the defeat against Chelsea cannot be put side to side with the defeat against Wolves. It wasn't like it was 2 different types of defeats how they came about. One we know how it went like, and the Wolves one was just, there was 2 different types of defeats. So it wasn't like we were just playing bad.
If that turns into 4, Iggy, does it matter what type of defeats
we'll probably end up saying get Ange out. Like that's the levels that we're competing with. We'll probably be shouting at them, and this is what I don't want. Like listen. I questioned a couple of decisions that were made against Wolves. I have no problem saying I questioned the manager for a couple of choices, not the choices that he didn't have, but the choices that he actually had options to make and he didn't. That's what I questioned. But I think I'm in the right to question that, but not go as far as saying me questioning that doesn't mean I want him out or all of a sudden I'm unhappy with him or anything. I think it's within one's right to say, why didn't Lo Celso play
Spurs
when Maddison wasn't available? Why didn't Lo Celso get picked? And at the back, well, some may say I said we should have started Phillips, and I said this before the game even started. As soon as I saw Dyer's face it just got flashbacks, and I thought, well, and I got counter argued by that, saying, well, it would have been easier to put Phillips in alongside someone like Van der Ven next to him or Romero to say, look, he goes, why are you going to go and put him with the dogs? Not with the dogs, maybe that's not the way.
I hear you.
You're putting him in like with Dyer, and all of a sudden he gets heat, and you shouldn't do that to a youngster. So I kind of get both sides of the argument to that as well. But we have to do something against Aston Villa. Surely we cannot feel the same team.
Look, I mean, listen, just really quickly before I move back to Jordan, big up to the Toon Review. Evening, mate. Big shout out. We were on the same table at the awards do the other night. It was what happens at the awards do stays at the awards do. But I mean, Jesus Christ, it was a very long night. It was really good to meet you. Hopefully I didn't offend you and all the other northern clubs that were on our table. I did talk a lot about how I don't like up north, but thank you very much for being a good table buddy. And please, if you haven't, go and subscribe to the Toon Review, as well as Time Added On for Alan and for Tottenham Away for Iggy. Just before I come to you, Jordan, let me just quickly say, Dante, who's been a channel member for 3 months now, has said good evening to you all. Hope everyone is healthy, happy, and that you all enjoyed your weekend, whatever you did. Thank you. Thank you to you all as a Spurs community. Listen, I don't think YouTubers have to say we have to say thank you to you lot. Without a Spurs community, we don't really have channels. So big up to you and all the Spurs community. Absolutely. Whether you're Levy in, Levy out, this manager in, this manager out, this player in, this player out, whether you rate Dyer, just but big up to you. Jerome has come in and said, talk about Ginola. I'd love a whole show talking about Ginola. It would make me really, really excited. So I want to ask, which player made you love Spurs? For me, it was Gary Lineker and Paul Gascoigne. Just really, really quickly, if I ask the panel just for a name, who was it that made you fall in love with Tottenham? Obviously, different eras.
For me, Teddy Sheringham.
Teddy. Lovely. Love a bit of Teddy. Jordan?
Ronaldinho, without question. Showman.
That made you fall in love with Spurs?
Oh, sorry, I thought you said football. That changes that, doesn't it? Oh, God.
The pause is...
Yeah.
The pause.
I love the answer of Ronaldinho. I just hate that I missed his era at Spurs.
I just miss you.
We'll go Luca then. We'll go Luca, but I can't think of any before then. So we'll go Luca.
Okay. Yeah, look, top player. Iggy?
Gascoigne, man. Italian 90 for me. Gascoigne, that was it. I was gone. As soon as I saw him play. I don't think do we even see midfielders do what he used to do, taking players on and going straight for the jugglers?
No, and then we still
been coached out of them, haven't they? It's been coached out of these centre midfielders. They've got to do these little passes, and no one actually says, "You know what? I'm gone."
Yeah, listen, I'll go with you. For me, Waddle and Gaza were the
I'm so gutted I missed Hoddle. I've heard so much about Hoddle, but when I got into football, he had just left Spurs to go Monaco, and I missed that.
He weren't bad, apparently. He weren't bad. So big up to you, Jerome. And Jerome's come in again and said, I'm convinced Eric Dyer was the one that screw us up for buying another centre-back. We needed to sell players before buying new ones, and Dyer audacity cost us big time. Jerome, listen, first of all, thanks for the super chat. I don't think, for me, only my opinion, I'll see what the panel think. I feel like it's an easy thing for us to do to blame Dyer because we don't rate him. But let's be fair, if Tottenham Hotspur were a big football club, we let go Tanganga on loan. Sanchez went on a transfer. Roden went on loan. So we had clearly made space to bring in other centre-halves and didn't. So for me, I don't want to quite blame Dyer for that, but there's many things in the last decade I would like to blame Eric Dyer for. Anyone think we could blame Dyer here? Can we blame Dyer for this?
No. What you blame is years of incompetence in getting rid of players, the buying of players, mediocrity players on higher wages that you can't get rid of, hence having people here for 8-9 years that are not good enough at Spurs. It's incompetence all the way through the club, obviously from higher up. Obviously we don't want to see these players here, but you can pick apart his performance or where he's out of position against, like for the Wolves game when he comes in, but you can't just blame him for being at the club still. But you blame the higher ups. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Jordan, I'm going to come to you now. Just before I do, smash the likes, people. Come on. YouTubers shouldn't have to do this still. We should be on 150 likes. We're only on 70. Smash those likes. And if you haven't subscribed, please do keep subscribing as we're chasing down. We're very close now to 12K. Just like that. Or maybe a bit more, but we're nearly there. Listen, Jordan, Villa. It, depending on who you ask, depends on their answer, obviously. I just said a really stupid thing there. On Aston Villa, you've got some people that are like, oh, they're rubbish away, right? Where I think, they've lost 3 away, but 2 of those have been against, I think, like Newcastle and Liverpool. So, like, is their away form as bad as we think it is? Other people who are probably in my camp, I'm shit scared, Jordan, of their forward line, their pace, getting in behind us. I've just seen Wolves do it time after time after time, and they can't finish their dinner. That's why I'm worried. Where are you at with this Aston Villa game? Is this a nice game to have now because they're bad away, or are you worried about them?
Yeah, I'm worried about them. I think Emery's gone playing some good stuff this season. People like Douglas Luiz looks like a new player. Looks incredible. Watkins has found his shooting boots again. And like you say, with the absentees that we've got, for me, anyone that we play is a worry at the moment. And you know, I think going back to your earlier point where you say, you know, is the third and the fourth defeat, is that a disaster and catastrophe? And I mean, I think it depends in the manner of how you lose those games. If you do lose those games, but also I'm kind of on the other side of it where I look at it and I go, the absentees that we have all coming in one game, and as Iggy mentioned, not for a week or 2 weeks. You know, Romero's red card's 3 games. I think Udogie is back, isn't he? I think if he's not injured, I think he said he might have a slight knock or something. But with James and Mickey being out to the new year, they're significant losses. And I think if you take 4 key players for any amount of time, maybe bar Man City, out of any squad, and, you know, if you took out Van Dijk, Salah, another one of their front line, and who have they got in midfield at the minute? Like what's his name? Summersly or somebody like that. I think you see them as a different side. I think if you take out Saliba, Saka, one of the midfielders from Arsenal, and then one of their fullbacks, I think you see a completely different side as well.
I'm going to interject. Haven't these teams had that though? Like if we look at Man City, if you look at Arsenal have had games where they're missing 2 of their front 3, one of their centre halves, a centre mid, and they're still winning games. So
which game?
I don't know the exact game. I mean, I'm not on.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at it as the situation we've got now with the 2 games coming up.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we have a stronger squad than, or you know, even a comparable squad to an Arsenal, Liverpool, or Man City. But I think, again, indicative as to where we are from the summer to where we are now, to take those 4 key players out in one game for a significant amount of time. It's hard for me to then sit there and go, but this is shambolic. We shouldn't have lost these 4 games on the bounce, if you know what I mean. Sure. I look at it and I go, okay, if you're going to play 2 centre halves of Eric Dyer and Emerson even there, or whoever we've got at the point, then I'm worried for any opponent that we're going to play. But I find it really difficult at this moment in time to look at it and go, okay, we lose at home to Villa and then we get spanked by City. For me to go, but this is a horrific state of affairs. And
of course. By the way, can I just say, I mean, I'll come to you, Alan. I don't think it'll be horrific either. All I'm saying is, I think it will be tough for a lot of fans to take, Alan, because I've gone on record many times in the last sort of 12 games and said, I think everyone just needs to calm down a bit. And I was told, get on the train, things are different, everything's great. And I was one of the people saying, it's all well and good getting on a train, but if that train hasn't got the right parts in case we break down, that journey stops. And I feel like that's what's happened. And I don't know if that's a correct analogy or not, Alan, but that what we were worried about happening has happened, right? It has happened. And I can't understand how certain parts of our fan base, as much as we wanted to get carried away, didn't foresee this, didn't think, hang on, we are 1 injury away at centre half from Dyer or Davis. You know, we are 1 injury away from having no creativity throughout the entire 11. And it happened.
Yeah, look, some fans obviously just go on basically how it's going now. So as we were doing well, that's all that was going to happen. It was going to go continually well. Nothing's going to go wrong. The amount of times we've said, but we're forgetting this and the other. No, not going to happen. Spurs are absolutely fine. And then we get injuries. And what we've got to understand is Newcastle got so many injuries at the moment. Trippier was arguing with fans about how many people have got out.
Right.
Chelsea have been riddled with injuries. Arsenal have been, like somebody put in the chat there, which is true. Timber, Jesus, Partey been missing for quite some time. Obviously, you've had Martinelli and Saka out at the odd game here or there. So every team's had to go through it, and now it's our turn. The reason why fans are obviously, it's going to be worse for Spurs is that Spurs fans got well ahead of themselves. Oh, it's all going to go well, everything's fine. But we're actually going to show over the next 3 or 4 games with these injuries and not having what we're actually going to be, where we should have been, because this is the start of a Spurs process with Ange and all that. We're 12 games in, but people have taken the 10 games, got excited and gone, this is where we're going to be like we're 2 or 3 years down the line. We're not. We're 10 or 12 games in. Looking ahead to the Villa game, yeah, they were in our back line and obviously a bad back line at that. But the thing that was bad about that is that we lost a midfield battle to them. So they controlled the midfield. we're going to lose the midfield battle against Aston Villa again, because not only have you not got Maddison now, you've now not got
Basuma.
So all you've got really is Sarr, who's still young, Højbjerg, who's awful, and Lo Celso, he doesn't want to play, and a Skip, who is just winks but runs around a bit more. This is what I'm saying in regards to the fact we needed to calm ourselves before the start of the season. Even as it was going on, yes, it was going well. You celebrate the points and all that, but now we've come to a point where you've got these likes of these players coming in, which no Spurs fan wants to see in a Spurs shirt anymore. Now all of a sudden it's like, we'll still pick up points because we've done this so far and all that. And look, I'll be honest, like, you can either say it's passionate Spurs fans or delusional Spurs fans that have put themselves in this predicament where we now play with these type of players and they're expecting a different result, but you always get the same outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, big up to my man Rick James in the chat. Started strong with Spurs are genuinely rubbish. Finished with a nothing club. And then said, delusional Savva said Ledley King was the same level as Van Dijk. Ha, ha, ha. He's not even the same level as Jamie Carragher. Big up, Rick James.
He was better.
Ledley was.
Sorry, that's not even an argument.
Phenomenal.
Ledley King was phenomenal indeed, and given his situation, how he managed to keep going for as long as he did, to say that, I'm sorry, man. I know.
Yeah. I tried to make this guy realise that the difference was Ledley King was just always injured. But when he did play, what a Rolls Royce of a centre-half that man was. For anyone who thinks that Romero and Van der Ven are brilliant, watch Ledley King if they ever, because that guy was different gravy.
He couldn't train because of his knee injury, but then he'd play football like a full 90 minutes and be one of the standout players week in, week out.
Week in, week out.
Sensational as a defender. Absolutely brilliant. If it weren't for his injuries, I think he would have been a regular in the England team by a mile.
He should have been in the England team a lot more regularly, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, what is also a travesty, apart from his injuries, is the fact that there's 265 people in here at the moment and we're growing and there's only 75 likes. This is absolutely shocking. Smash that like button. Put together a great panel of people for you today. Look, Iggy, I want to get some predictions then before we move on to the next subject. Look, Villa and then Man City away. Like I think you understated it. If I'm brutally honest, you said it's going to be difficult. I'm going to choose the word impossible to go to Man City.
Nothing is impossible, man. Nothing is ever impossible. Very difficult.
I just watched that back four get ripped open by Wolves time and time again. I think Man City are gonna. I think if we keep it, I'll start off. I think if we get 1 point from the 6, we'll be lucky. I'd snap your hand off for a point at home to Villa. Yeah. And I would snap your hand off if we can keep it at 4 goals conceded away at Man City. I genuinely think they're going to rip us a new one. I'm worried.
I think we'll get 3 points out of 6. I think we'll beat Villa at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, I've gone 1 from 6. Iggy's gone 3. Can I get any advances on 3?
Just me then.
Not from me. You can't. No.
Can I? Would you agree with Iggy at 3 or 1 or none, or where are you at with it?
I think we take a max of 3. I won't be happy with 1, but it's more of a realistic outcome for me. I think that point comes at Villa more than it does City, right? So I'll go with 3, just so I seem a little bit more positive than you, Savva.
I hear this all the time. I'm told every season that I'm not positive, and then when we don't do what everyone tells me we're going to do, I'm still negative. Like,
I'm not trying to put us positive. I generally think that at home, I think we'll listen. There has to be a reaction from the last 2 games. Like I said, we lost those 2 games for very different reasons. The Chelsea one and the Wolves one cannot be compared. Udoji's back at left back, which is massive for me because we was awful on that side of the pitch against Wolves, and I think it'd be a bonus to have them there. I think we will be strong on the wider areas. For me, if we can get that middle part of the pitch, the right balance, and I think we have to absolutely play with the number 10, and we only have one number 10 available right now, and that's Lo Celso. We've got to play him in that role, and then try. We've got to try and listen. I don't know if there's something more behind the scenes happening with Lo Celso or I don't know, guys. I can only say that if he is the only number 10 we have available, and we absolutely need to play with number 10, given with the manner that we play, we've got to absolutely then let us see him on the pitch, and then we will know why he isn't playing if he doesn't turn up for the game. We will know. But
have we not seen him though? Have we not seen him come on for 15, 20 minutes here and there? Have we not seen him in years gone by where we?
I agree. But do you know what?
We've gone, let's see him, and he comes on.
But you know what, mate? Put it on him. At the end of the day, he's there. Maddison isn't. He is. Put it on him. Say, look, I'm choosing you. You go out there in front of 60,000 Spurs fans and put it on him. And if he doesn't put a performance, and then we as fans can say, we understand why he didn't play, perhaps against Wolves. I'm willing to give him a clean slate under Postecoglou. If he's then not good enough, you need to get rid of him straight away in January because it's pointless in being there. If he's not going to be, added to the cause when your main man is out. If he isn't going to take that chance to try and get some games under his belt, if he's not going to willing to put it out there whilst he goes and plays for Argentina, he needs to come back and now put it in for Spurs. And if he doesn't, then why have him there? Then I'd rather play the likes of Bentancur or whoever else to in that role. But we've got to absolutely play on the front foot because there's no point trying to, play outside our box or perhaps encourage them to come on us. We need to play on the front foot because we can't put it on the defence to keep a clean sheet. Maybe our goalkeeper has to work even double harder to try and keep a clean sheet, but we've got to try and play on the front foot. Absolutely. And I expect the very minimum a reaction from the boys at White Hart Lane.
Well, with that in mind, then let's stay on that point, then, Jordan. With that in mind, this was the big thing all week. Leading up to that Wolves game, there was talk of two things, wasn't there? There was one, who's going to play instead of Maddison? Two, who's going to play at centre half?
Yeah.
Is it going to be Dorrington or Phillips? Right, right. Because all of us for that whole week, tell the truth now, everyone was like, Davis is injured. Then all of a sudden, I don't know if you're like me, but Friday morning, Big Ange drops Davis is fit, and I'm like, well, that's ended that debate. Then it's going to be Davis and Dyer, but. Did that one shock you, Lo Celso not starting and him going with Højbjerg, Sarr and Basuma, Jordan? Because I was told that the reason he did what he did the second half again, I've got to be in a bonnet about this. I was told by everyone the reason he did what he did in the second half against Chelsea is that's the way he plays. Yeah. He's brave. He's going to attack. If you don't like it, you don't understand Ange. Cool. We get to Wolves and I'm like, okay, where's the attacking players? Oh, you've scrapped that already, have you? And you've gone for 3 defensive central midfielders, so to speak. What did you make of that, Jordan?
No, it didn't shock me. And I understand what Iggy's saying as well about not having James and not having, there's attacking options in there. And he is, I suppose, on paper, the closest to what we have there. So why isn't he playing? And if he wasn't going to play, then why the hell did we keep him and not try and offload him and replace him in the summer? And all of that I completely agree with. And I think what it comes down to, and very, for me, I see some similarities in attitude to certain players that Conte had with people as well, in terms of if he doesn't trust you, you never kind of see them. And I think that Fulham game, albeit there was loads of changes, right? So it probably wasn't the best setup for Lo Celso to go out and be able to put a performance in. But I think for everyone here that watched that Fulham game when we went out in the Carabao Cup, he was atrocious. Couldn't make a 5 or 10 yard pass. I think I saw one where he just passed behind a player and went out for a throw. Isn't industrious enough for me. Doesn't get about the pitch well. If he's not going to create, he doesn't seem to put it. He has no physical presence for me. So when it came to the Wolves game, I didn't expect to see him, and I wasn't surprised not to see him. And I don't.
Isn't that why we kept him? I was happy for him to go, but
that's exactly my point. I think on the face of it, you can look at the profile of player, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but similar to what Iggy's saying, there is going to give him another chance. I think we've all kind of done that over a 3 or 4 year period with Lo Celso, going, well, let's see him again. And I think I think Ange has come in and gone, well, actually, you look at the way he plays for Argentina, you look at the profile of player he is on paper, and again on paper, then he should fit into a system which Ange adopts. He should be fairly good on the ball. He should be able to drive through the lines and progress the ball up the pitch and make a final killer pass at points and actually chip in with some goals and assists.
Yeah.
But I think whether, what we're not privy to is what happens in training. But I think from what we have seen of the cameos he's made, and particularly that Fulham game, I think Ange has very quickly gone, he doesn't actually offer what we're saying he should offer. So putting him in the 10 or having Sarr in there, I think Sarr is a better option. I think he will give us more as an attacking player than what Lo Celso will. Not what Lo Celso should do, but what he will give you. And that's why I don't think you'll see him. And
If Lo Celso's not the answer, then you got to say, you got to look at the other alternatives and say, look, this is the way we play. We're not going to change by playing 3 holding mids or anything like that. We're going to have to find a number 10 somewhere in Maddison's absence. If Lo Celso's not the answer, then bring Kulusevski in the 10 and play someone else out wide. You've got to find an answer until you have a window of opportunity, i.e. January or perhaps next summer, to then rectify that and start, like you said earlier, start getting rid of the dead wood, start getting rid of the players that are not committed to the cause or not performing for the cause. In this case, if Lo Celso persists on playing in the way that he's proved in the past, but in the past he played under managers who played different styles of football. This one here, there's no excuse, because if Lo Celso cannot perform in the way that Angepostecoglou likes to play, then something's clearly not right, because this should favour all attacking players. Players, we've got a defence that has to play what he likes to play with the high line, and I can understand if a slow defender, this doesn't suit him because he's got too many yards behind him and a goalkeeper to make up if he gets done on a counter. I can understand that characteristics why it's not fitting, but Lo Celso has all the characteristics to actually succeed under Postecoglou's way of playing. So I don't understand why this wouldn't work. However, if it doesn't, or he's not committed to it, bring Kulu in, start playing Poro further on the pitch, play Emerson behind him. You've got to try and do something whilst we're in this sort of situation for the forthcoming games.
Exactly that. Look, I've got to disagree with Jordan here. I agree with obviously this comment here that he played well in the preseason games. Yep.
Who? City Sailors?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
No. But he was also against Barcelona where we played well as well.
Skip's called 2 against Barcelona.
Exactly.
Mic drop.
And he did get 2 against that, but he started the season, did he not? And he was absolutely awful. So hence he got dropped. So mic drop again. Anyway. But then look, if you look at that, the thing, what's happened, and I had the same thing, is in regards to, we've abandoned the way we're playing football because he's gone for Højbjerg, and we've had pretty much 3 holding players. So you've not played the attacking football, the number 10 that you wanted, right? Where Lo Celso, I'm not a Lo Celso fan. I want him gone from the club. But if you're going to do that, if you're not going to play Lo Celso, then I agree with exactly what Iggy says. You then put Kulu in there who can. You push Poro up. You then put Roy out right back rather than at left back. But let's look at it the other way. Okay, who's he left off the bench more often than not, and not even including the squad? Eric Dyer. Who's the first person he calls upon in defence? Eric Dyer. So he making mistakes in that aspect, as well as making mistakes in not continuing to play the way he wants to. Because that's why we had the attacking lineup, was because we're going to play attacking football no matter what. It came to against Wolves, and we literally got bossed in midfield.
We abandoned it immediately. Alan, do you know what? This is the thing for me. This is why look, first of all, I want to go back to something Iggy said about half an hour ago, and he was spot on, where he said, as football fans, not word for word, sorry, Iggy, but basically, as football fans, we are allowed to question decisions that a manager makes or a player makes. Just because I do doesn't mean I immediately want that player to leave or that manager to be sacked. I question things that my wife does. It doesn't mean I'm divorcing her every day, right? That's just life. That's how it works. She probably wouldn't mind that. Yeah. I haven't got the money to do it. But this is the thing. Like I was very vocal, Alan, after the Chelsea game that I think he got it. I thought he got the second half dreadfully wrong. But I thought it was one of the maybe I went a bit over. I thought it was one of the worst bits of management I think I've ever seen. You were playing into Chelsea's hand, and it was literally saying, "Go on, just keep scoring, just keep attacking. You're going to score goals." Everyone told me it was, but that's how he plays. Then the very next game, he abandons that philosophy. Like Iggy said, surely you could bring Kulu into the middle. You've got Yannick Santiago and Jamie Donnelly who are on fire. Yes, they're kids. Yes, they've not played. But instead, we abandoned that, went to a midfield 3 where not one of those 3 players, I don't care what anyone says, not one of those 3 players looks up and can pick a pass. None of them. Sarr is very good, great engine, but he's not that guy. Højbjerg has never been that guy, and Basuma just looks way off the pace at the moment. So which one is it then? I'm told by everyone this is what he does, but it's not. So what are we going to see against Villa, Alan? Are we going to see Lo Celso come in? Is Bentancur going to come in and that be the only change for Basuma? What's he going to do?
I mean, that's a video I've done on my chat. Like, is it going to be too soon for Bentancur, like to start the game and get 60 plus minutes? I think it's too soon. So I'm going to take him off the table because I think if you go and try and play him in a game like this, you're going to probably cause yourself problems later down the line with Bentancur. If he basically plays the same well, he won't play the same midfield, but if he just sticks to Skip instead of Basuma and keep the other two, we're going to lose the midfield battle, and then basically it's going to be the same as it was against Wolves. You need somebody who's going to be able to take the ball under pressure with people, because Villa in midfield, they're very good in midfield. You're going to need to have a player who's going to be able to take the ball on a half turn or on a half turn, or be able to hold it up and bring other people to play. Against Wolves, the ball kept going time and time again up the side to Coglou, and eventually they took the ball, took it off, and this is where the guy scored the first goal, because Porro pushed on. Dyer came out of position and they played in the top. And obviously on the other side as well, they got in down the side because there was no midfield there. They won the ball again midfield because we didn't have anyone in there. And if we don't control the midfield, if we don't, let's just say, okay, you're going to put Bentancur in there with Sarr and then a Lo Celso or maybe even a Coglou in there and push Porro up. I think you control the midfield better. I think you then enable the midfield to have a break, because Wolves were just attacking. I remember watching that game, doing a watch along, and seeing every time they came back off of the highlights of what just previously happened, Wolves had the ball and were attacking.
Yeah. They were attacking again. Yeah.
That's how poor we were against Wolves. So if we don't control that midfield against Villa, who are a high quality, people going, oh, they don't play well away from home. But like you said, they've played good teams away from home, apart from Wolves. But then we found out about Wolves exactly what they're like, because they drew with Wolves, if our memory serves. But Wolves beat us. So they've played decent teams. If we rock up with the same team that we played against Wolves with, I never say, Spurs are going to lose. I try not to do that. But I fear the writing's on the wall before the game even starts. If all that comes in is Skip instead of Basuma, I fear for that game on Sunday. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, Iggy, before we move away from the Villa and City talk, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you've got Bentancur now, who's now played, 2 or 3 games he's come on as a sub now. Does he come straight back in? Is he going to go safe and go with, I say safe, you know what I mean? Like the safe option in terms of Ollie Skip. And if he does, is Alan right? Because I think one of Villa's strengths is their midfield three. I think Douglas Luiz, Kamara and John McGinn, great engines, like to get the ball, drive forward. I'm really worried about Villa, by the way. I'm really worried about them.
Look, for me, listen, I understand that I don't. The thing is, the ideal thing with Bentancur would be to him to have come in with a settled team and him getting his minutes again, and without putting too much pressure on him. He's coming back from an ACL, and I can understand why they're being a bit cautious with him. Now we're in a situation where almost as if we have to play him, and that's where the pressure comes in for him to perform. And what happens if he doesn't perform? Because it just happens. Are we going to get on his back about it? And so, look, for me, you have to. You see, the changes have to be made where there needs to be made. The Maddison situation, the Romero and Van de Ven not being there, almost like at the back, we're a little bit limited with the choices that we have. And I understand why perhaps the kid didn't play, because he's going into a real, 3 out of the back 4 all gone. So he's going to come in. What happens to this kid if he doesn't play well? We burn him out. Literally, he's finished. And I can understand. I didn't agree with it, but I can understand a little bit more. It's the ones where you do have the players like this. I didn't understand that way of thinking. Play Bissouma, play Sarr, and then play number 10. Now with Bissouma out, I will play. I will at least start Bentancur. I think having him in the team, at least from the start, would be much more better. He's better with the ball, and whilst you probably, might only be able to play him for 50, 60 minutes, so be it, man. Then people will understand, say, you know what, that's it. That's all he's got. He can't invent himself something new. And I'm not going to get into the manager too much in the sense of I questioned it, but I get it. He made decisions like the Chelsea High Line thing. He made the decision on the spot. It didn't work out for him, and if he had worked out for him, it would have been genius. The Wolves thing, he knew he couldn't do the same thing with Davis and Dyer. So he played it a little bit different. What didn't work out for me more than the back is the actual midfield.
I agree.
They didn't supply anything, no creativity, and the forwards were dead because they had nothing to be fed off. So we have to rectify the middle of the park. That's where we lost the game, guys. We didn't lose. The back wasn't great. Don't get me wrong, but we didn't lose it because of that.
I agree.
We lost it in the middle of the park.
I
if
agree.
we can rectify that, get the right blend in, sort that out. I'll say it again. I think we'll beat Villa.
Okay, I mean, Jordan, the last part I want to talk about on this is, I think Iggy's right. I don't think we did lose it at the back. I think it's easy. It's an easy go-to say Davis and Dyer lost us that game. I actually thought Davis was our best player on the day, which doesn't say a lot for the rest of the players.
The from the back was still poor, but he blocked. What I'm trying to say is, you expect Davis to do what he does, blocking and tackling, and that's his strengths. Playing from the back ain't one of them.
No, of course. No, I get that. But Jordan, I'm going to put another spin on this. What I've started to become really worried about this isn't just the last 2 games. This should be the last 5, 6, 7 games. Because I'm of the camp, Jordan. I know you're going to tell me off for this. I don't actually think that this Angeball thing has really materialised. I feel like we were breathtaking against Man U for 45 minutes. I thought we were brilliant against Burnley for 90 minutes. Other than that, I think we've played in patches. The reason I mention that is I just do not think he's got this front 3 right at all. I don't think we look dangerous. I think everyone looks like they're out of position. Everyone. Son looks great in that position when there's no low block. I think he looks great. Other than that, he looks lost. The 2 wide men only know how to cut in. Is this starting to become a worry? And we are going to lead on from that, Jordan. I'll let us segue into that. But there's loads of talk today, and I don't know how much to believe in it, about Rafinha from Barcelona, obviously the ex-Leeds player. And do we need another winger? So what would you make about the whole forward line and needing another option in that front line?
Yeah, I don't think the forward line has been, mind blown over the season. I think you speak about Son. I don't think that's anything new, though. That's not something we've not seen over the last 2-3 seasons. That he's always needed space. I think to operate. He's never been somebody when put under pressure that can operate in tight spaces. I mean, he's done it, but it's not his forte. I think Brennan Johnson, someone new that we're still finding out about. I think Kulu. I don't know what to say about Kulu, right? I think we had that 8-month spell, or was it less than that, where he was. He took the league by 3 months. Was it that much?
Well, he signed on January the 31st.
I thought you'd have it in days for me, Savva, really, than months. But
it was about 98 days. About 98 days. He was brilliant.
Right, and then he's changed. I think is what I'd say. I think with Kulu, there are elements to his game I still like. He's what I'd call his unorthodox. I don't think there's any other wide players I've seen that move the same way he does. He uses his body well. He's quick over about 6 yards and can beat someone there. But then if he's got to get away from them, he can't. I think if he has to make a decision in a split second, he's good. But if he has to think about what he has to do next, he just does the same thing.
Yeah.
And again, I go back to probably the same point I'll make over and over again. I find it hard to be really critical of the manager in that situation. I think Kulu, we've seen him do this the whole of last season. Son, we know that's how he operates, and he needs that space. And then the others, Man or Solomon, we've seen probably a collective of about 70 minutes from him before he got injured. Brennan Johnson, the same. I think every time he's made an appearance, he's looked bright and impactful. What that looks like in the long run, I don't know. Whether you look at putting him central, do you move him over to the right, which I think is where you want him, Savva. But again, it's 12 games. I can't sit there and go, This should be the finished article. Why are we not dominating the game for 90 minutes and playing Angeball from minute 1 to minute 90? We've been spoiled, I think, based on the results. And I think the results that we've won most of the time, we probably deserve to win, but we haven't had the domination in which you're saying, and then that's become more evident in the games that we've lost, right? And then we go, well, actually, we're just delaying the inevitable in those games because we haven't dominated for 90 minutes. And now this is where we're seeing the real Spurs, and we're actually going to lose the next 10 games.
Can I just add in, Jordan?
But let me just finish the point. I think, as you would say, Savva, is actually the truth is somewhere in the middle, right?
Sure.
And I think that there's been positives to the forward play and moments where we go, actually, what the hell is going on there? I don't see how that's working, and he should go there and he should go there. But I think Andy's still in that moment of time, right? And going, what's best? What do we need in Jan? What do we need in the next summer to come, and so on and so forth. But God, sorry, interject.
No. I was just going to say, let me caveat myself, because I think a lot of people in the chat don't seem to understand when I say this about Angeball. I'm one of the people that doesn't think it should be there yet. By the way,
yeah.
And for the people that stream with me a lot, I think Alan streamed with me quite a lot in the last few months. Well, know that I've always said, well, slow down. Like this isn't going to happen in 10, 12 games. For me, this is more of a message to the people that just got so carried away with this is Angeball. This is amazing. He can do no wrong. I think that now they're starting to see this is going to be years.
Yeah.
This isn't something that you have one summer and then all of a sudden you go, right, let's go and win titles. Let's play like prime Barcelona.
But again, Sam, I don't blame him for that. I think after what we've seen over the last 2 years, you have to enjoy that. You have to enjoy those first 2 games, right? Because if you didn't, what's the point?
Listen, of course, listen. I've enjoyed some of the football we've played this year. But it was just the whole. Why can't we win a league? Let's do it. It's like, well, okay.
The thing is, guys, you have to say this, right? There's 3 big elements for me that are part of the way Ange wants to play football. The high line is one of them. And number 10 for the creativity provided is the other. And third, for me, one of the most important parts is the inverted wingers that we're playing. When some of those elements are coming to, like, they're missing, the 10 is missing, Maddison's not there. The high line cannot be played because our 2 centre-backs that hold that high line are not there. And when you had Porro was getting occupied against Wolves, no Doji. So Emerson doesn't provide you the same outlet. So those inverted wingers, when our wingers go out wide and the inverted wingers are going in to go to the byline to then offer the service, which was missing for Son, because Son, you know, if he gets a service in there, he scores.
He scores goals. Yeah.
So when you don't have the inverted wingers because one's blocked and the other one's not absent, you don't have the 10 and you don't have the eye line. Just see how quickly it goes to shit. Like, what we need to rectify is providing Ange with more options if we have a situation of injuries and suspensions. We don't have that yet, but we are 3 months into Ange's era. Not like Arteta's 4 years into his era and 700 million spent. You know, it will take time to get to that point. And I'm not saying I think Ange should stay to see it in 5-6 years. I think we should know that he's going to be here for the next 4 or 5 years, and in the hope that our board wakes up and starts backing a manager to say, we believe in what he wants to do, and this is where we're going to go forward with. Actually come out and verbally say that, and then actually put the pressure on them to say he needs to be backed.
So with that in mind then, sorry, just quickly, Alan, with that in mind then, let's move that conversation forwards to the transfer window. Lots of talk, like we're getting to silly season, aren't we now? We're getting to silly season where Spurs are now, we're starting to be linked with everybody and anybody. They're talking about £70 million for Rafinha at the same time as we're talking about 70 million for him and 60 million for Santiago Jimenez. You've got quickly Savva getting, what's his name? Fabrizio Romano, Ornstein, they're all coming out going, oh no, as far as we know, Spurs haven't really got a lot of money. Why have Spurs not got a lot of money? Like, Alan, I'm not asking Daniel Levy to go out and buy 4 players at 50 million in the January window, but surely at some point you've got to look at the manager you've got and say, okay, we trust this guy. We like what he's done so far with this really small squad. We need to dip our hands in our pockets. I know I'm probably preaching to the converted here, but at what point do we have to dip into our pockets and go, right, we need to give this guy some reinforcements?
I mean, you need to do it straight off the bat. This is what I don't get. If there is no money, that means in the summer, we spent Kane money only, or pretty much majority, apparently we're spending most of that. So that tells me, okay, we're meant to have moved into the stadium for a game changer to be able to compete. But then if we're selling our best player and that's what we got to spend in the summer, where's all this money gone? How poor are Spurs really in regards to being able to bring players in? We know what the answer is. Our owners are tight as anything. Literally, it's every single time. And this is what I don't get with people that defend these owners. There's always a reason. They always move the thing. Well, I'll see how we do next transfer window or next season. And there's always a reason why you put it off and put it off. But there is absolutely no way we can be in January not being able to spend whilst having to selling our best player. There's no way we can do that, because that means we're just always going to be a selling club. How are we meant to compete? Going back to what we said, look, this is a project and it's going to take 2 or 3, maybe even 4 transfer windows to start seeing proper end product from this manager. Let's not forget, Pep didn't do it in the first season at Man City. Klopp took time at Liverpool. You've got Arteta, who's taken, like Iggy said, 3 or 4 years at 700 million. Why were fans thinking that Ange, with losing our best player, the thing, was going to come in and win a title or be invincible in his first season? This is what I'm saying. We need to look. I think Rafinha coming in, if we are genuinely interested in him, I think he would be a good choice for Spurs to buy, like a loan with the obligational option to buy. Yes, he's a winger, and we've got people like that. Kulu has shown in parts when he can go around the outside and beat a player, he can cause problems. Obviously, the times he hasn't done that, he's cut inside. It's Porro that calls it outlet, but not often enough. You need a player like Rafinha that can. Yes, he comes inside. He's got a good foot. I like when he comes inside. But he can also be direct, take a man on, and take a defender back towards his goal more often than not.
He's that level up from what we've already got, isn't he? Like I'm not saying he's my number one target or anything, but when you look at Rafinha versus Kulu and Richie and Solomon, he's Kulu, there, isn't he?
Yeah, with Kulu, 80% of the time, 85% of the time, you know he's cutting inside. Whereas Rafinha, it'd be 50-50. You'd be like, he could beat me here, he could beat me there. And then you have a defender either get too tight and cause fouls, or he drops off to give himself a yard and all that. And then that's where you have. But as soon as the ball comes into Kulu, either they're right on him because they know exactly where he's going to force him back, or they just stand and block, so they draw him inside. Then there's no overlap, and we become a bit one-dimensional. Look, I think Kulu does a job for Spurs. Is he the answer to go on like at the end of this project and make us challenge for trophies? Probably not. But obviously, Brennan Johnson is, you could also say they're probably playing on the wrong side, or they need to switch to be able to go on their favoured foots and draw defenders back the other way. But we don't do that often enough. So there's problems with the players. There's also problems with not playing players in their right position as well, which would come down to manager. Again, I criticise Ange where I believe he needs to be criticised. I don't go over the top like some others do. But people come crying to me and go, oh, so you're not a fan of Ange. No, you can just say players or managers aren't good enough. There's problems there to be sorted, and I think Rafinha, if we can get him, would be a step up and obviously a better outlet for Spurs in regards to that you keep defenders guessing rather than just being so predictable like Kulu.
Yeah, I mean, Iggy, it's a strange one, isn't it? When you look at I mean, we could talk about Daniel Levy all night. We won't, and I am going to use that in a minute as a segue into FFP.
Who's drip feeding Ornstein and Romano this information already? It's almost like we're finding the excuses out there. Right. This is what we shouldn't let them. This is the part where I get angry with our board. We should not allow them to get away with things like that, because I'm still waiting for the war chest money to be spent, from 2 seasons ago. I'm still waiting for that. That's all gone quiet on that one. So, but then, that's another argument with the war chest money. We know what happened there. But the problem is, like, they cannot start drip feeding this information to us as if to say, well, we're letting you know from now. Don't expect much in January because it's not going to. Then we can't then put the pressure on the players that we got, because they're not the ones that pull the jersey on. They've been given a jersey to wear. They've been employed to play for Spurs. So they've put them there. And also the manager, what expectations can we put on him if we don't improve the squad? We know this squad needs improving. We know it needs more depth. We don't have enough. I said we're beyond 11, 12 players. We don't have a squad. So that needs definitely improving on. So how can we do that if we're already drip feeding people saying we haven't got enough money to spend on? Okay, but rather than go spending 5, 6, 7 players in one, get 2 players in. Get a couple of good players. Players that are better than the ones that we currently got at the club. So then the ones that are in the 11 becomes part of the squad rather than the 11. It's just try and widen that a little bit more. Have a couple of more players. Having 14 players, especially in the season where we don't have European Cups, it's ideal. And then next season you prove bringing in a couple of more. But right now it irritates me when I hear things like this. And I don't know. Obviously, the media do play a part in winding us up. I have to say that. But to already start drip feeding that information, that's why I want to hold fire until January. It annoys me because then nothing has really changed other than the managers, and nothing will ever change other than the manager if this is what we keep doing. We as fans need to start saying, look, when's enough enough? So, but we're not at that stage yet. I don't want to say we're there, but I will be at that stage if this information becomes reality come January and then again in the summer.
But the thing is, hang on, haven't we seen, Jordan? I'm just trying to get it up here. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't. That's not a sentence I should ever say on screen. I'm just trying to get the information up on my screen at the moment. When you look at our Januaries, they're really, really poor in general in terms of money going out. Now, in the last window, hang on, I think I can bring this up here. Let me share the screen with you. This is what I get it when people are saying, like, I get what what Iggy's saying there, that we need to. I don't know if you actually you won't be able to see that. I'll stop that screen. When people are saying that we've got to wait and see, yeah, I get it. We have got to wait and see, but we know how this game pans out, right? If you look at our windows, last window we got January windows, by the way, Pedro Porro and Danjuma, right? And one was on loan. Before that, we got Kulu on loan and Bentancur was cheap at 19. Before that, there was no one that came in the January before. The January before was Stephen Bergwijn. Right? The January before that was no one. January before that, one in Lucas Moura. No one the January before that. No one the January before that. Dele Alli for 6 million the January before that. No one the January before that. No one the January before that. Like, historically, we don't do a lot in January. And when we do, it's not a lot of money going out. So everything they're saying is true to form for Tottenham Hotspur, right?
Yeah, a lot of those Januaries, though, Savva, you're forgetting that was Poch's squad. We couldn't improve that 11. I think. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you remember that.
Who'll sit on the bench? Who's going to sit on the bench?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's never. It's difficult, right? You say it's never been a window for us. I mean, has the summer one ever been a great one for us in recent history either? Yeah, I don't really. I don't know how January's going to go. I can't see the board forking out 70 million euros for Rafinha. Especially, I don't think that would appease. I think if you look at January as a whole, I mean, I don't know what our budget is, but if it, you'd say 70 million would probably exceed the budget, if not be all of the budget, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I think if we bought in a Rafinha, we then in a couple of weeks' time be lambasting that decision, going, well, why didn't we get another centre half, and why didn't we get another, a number 10 replacement for James Maddison? So, yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I think to Iggy's point, I think you'd be happy with two strong either starting 11 players or people that can come in when we're in a situation like we are now. If we lose Romero or we lose a Mickey, that someone's got quality higher of Ben Davis or Eric Dyer and someone that's adequate that can create in the midfield. I mean, I don't know what you like. What would your priority be in January from a positional sense, or a backup, or a player replacement? Where do you think, if we have any money, it should go?
Mate, I don't know. And I suppose this is the conversation, right? Is that, I mean, when we're hearing about, I don't buy this, by the way, when we're talking about 70 million euros for Rafinha, straight away, the first question, what would be anyone's first question if we spent 70 million on a Rafinha, would be, why didn't we buy a centre half? Sure, right, surely. But at the same time, we do need to add more goals, more this. I suppose the thing for me that I don't get is I think a lot of people think it will be different. And I don't actually think it will be. And to go to, I think it was Alan's point just now. Was it you, Alan, that said this? Is a lot of people, even after the Kane signing, still not understanding how Tottenham Hotspur Football Club operates, was mind-boggling. It was mind-boggling. Like, I remember me and big up to Danny Kyriakou. Me and Kyriakou were having that debate for like a week before Kane was leaving. And I was like, of course he's leaving. And he was like, why? And I was like, sorry, you think Daniel Levy's going to spend 45 million on Van der Ven? You think he's spending 40 million on Maddison, 18 million on Vicario? You think he's doing that all out of the goodness of his heart? Nah, Kane, that's That's Harry Kane's transfer fee right there. And the number of people going, it was the same the year before, Iggy. I remember us streaming the same the year before. It was like, oh my God, we've got 150 million war chest, plus 150 million transfer kitty, plus whatever we make on player sales. And I'm sitting there going, have we all just started supporting Tottenham in the last 5 minutes? Like, this isn't how Tottenham Hotspur operate.
This is very small-minded. It's very, not by the fans. I'm saying for an owner who clearly just doesn't prioritize on-field success, because if he did, on-field success would actually bring in more revenue off the field. But if you've only got to go on transfer market and type in free agents and have a look at some of the players that currently have no club. I don't know. I want to say Jerome Boateng. At the moment, we have an emergency at the back. A player like him doesn't cost anything, but there's others there, by the way. I'm just using him as an example.
Sure.
But there's players there that you can snap up and probably join even now. Why not utilize that? Give him a 6-month contract in the way Luton have done for Andros Townsend. They're giving him a contract to the end of the season and say, look, we're in an emergency situation, what they are. And we bring in a player for 6 months. We could do the same. Why can't we do that? We're in a situation there now, and then at the end of the season, then we can calmly decide who we want to spend the big money at. So there is alternative options. Doesn't mean you have to literally go out there and blow everything, on players. No one's suggesting that for a minute, but we need to better the players that we currently got, and add squad depth. Otherwise, we're just going to come unstuck every single time. And we want to get into Europe this year. We've said, like, I've never entertained the fact about winning the league or anything like that. I've always said, look, the first objective in year one of Postecoglou's era is to get back into Europe. I didn't even specify Europa or Champions League. Of course, out of the 2 and 1 Champions League. And if we are in this situation right now, where we are in the league in January. Then you say, well, we're in full course of going for Champions League football. You've got to then say, right, where's the push that's going to see us out in the second half of the season? Where's the push that we make sure that we're not in the second half of the season, same thing happens, like what happened now, what's happening right now. We cannot afford this to happen in March, April, in the business end of the season, because then we really are screwed. Don't compromise that part of where we are right now. Because you don't want to spend a bit of money.
Isn't it a vicious circle, Iggy? Like, it's a vicious circle in terms of if we don't do enough, as you said, if we are in the mix for Champions League and we don't do enough to secure a Champions League, then the excuse can't then be in the summer, but we can't attract the players
because we couldn't get the Champions League money.
Right.
Of course,
at some point, you've got to go, you know what, we're going balls deep here. I think I heard you saying once about, getting it out, getting it on the table and saying, hey, boom. This is us. We've got the manager. We've got a good team here. Let's add 2 or 3 players in this January window that make us go, all right, do you know what? Let's take it away from the owners now. Go on, Postecoglou. We've just given you those 3 players. This is now on you and the players.
Savva, it's the intent. If you're running a business and you're the head of that business, and you go out there with the intent, the message that you're sending out across the board to all your players or to all your employees, say, man, this guy means business. Yes, he's shrewd. Yes, he's careful with his money. But you know what? When he goes, he goes, and you've got to send the message out there, because we as fans, we go on that. We don't know what's happening behind the scenes. We never do. But the intent, we can see where the intent is. We can see what the ambition is and what the plan is. Unfortunately, my question will always be on the board. I will always, unless they answer my questions, I will always be in doubt, because they've not given me anything to think anything different. So, listen, I never have an issue with the players, including Diaz and all that. I don't have any of those players. I don't have a problem with the managers, because fundamentally, when it all comes down to it, it's always it's the same. Like you said, it's a vicious circle. It comes down to one thing and one man, really.
It is. Listen, just quickly, I'm going to go to the last 15, 20 minutes of the show. Before we do, smash the like button. People, God, we've got Daniel Levy levels of of likes going on. Smash the likes, and please do keep subscribing if you haven't already. The link to subscribe is now in the chat, and it is pinned as well. So please do subscribe if you haven't been bothered to already. And we do appreciate everybody coming into the show and making a difference. Jordan, I'll start with you, then I'll go to Alan. FFP has been talked about quite a lot in the last week, funny enough. And I'm already starting to see over all the social sites, all the groups that I'm in, that there's now this kind of, aren't you grateful you've got Daniel Levy, right? Aren't you grateful you've got Daniel, because that could have been us. Now, you know me, I don't subscribe to this. For me, this is football fans doing what they do best. Everything is either up here or down here. Just because we want him to spend a bit more money doesn't mean that we want him to go and do like breaking 115 rules. Other people are going, well, there you go. See, we've got a great club. We're well run. You know, you should all be saying sorry to Daniel Levy. First of all, before we talk about Levy, Everton, 10 points. They're not challenging their guilt, but they are challenging the 10 points. Yeah. Is this harsh? Is this the correct deterrent? And is this setting a dangerous precedent for the rest of the league?
It's only harsh depending on what comes next, right? So if it's 10 points for Everton, like you say, depending on the guilt of other clubs and the severity of that punishment there, you could gauge whether the Everton one was harsh or not. But I think are City and Chelsea, if they're found guilty, going to get relegated? Do we think that's a plausible situation? When if they don't, then I think it's harsh on Everton, right? Because if you then only dish out points deduction to a City or fines or whatever, then it looks extremely harsh, doesn't it? So for me, I think it's setting the right tone and the right precedent for what, for FFP, for what it's there for. Yeah. But it only then becomes an injustice depending on what happens next, in my opinion. And we're all eagerly awaiting to see how that turns out. But when will that happen? Because aren't the charges for those guys going back to like 2012 or something, like 10 years? Or
this is the thing, Jordan. Like, it's crazy because we've done what we've all done, right? Is we're all emotional in football, right? So rather than just talking about Everton, everybody immediately within 1 second of their brain went, Man City. I did that. Everyone went, Man City.
We're 16, 17 champions, aren't we? If this happens.
Absolutely.
In which case, then Daniel Levy's had a monster stroke.
Yeah, Daniel Levy's the best chairman in the world. But what I'm led to believe, if anyone clips that, but what I'm led to believe from using my eyes and reading and stuff, that the difference here is that Everton it wasn't about whether Everton were guilty or not. Everton were guilty. Yeah. Right. So their fine was their points deduction was because they were guilty. My understanding is that Man City are challenging all 115 charges. Yeah. And that is what's still going on in the background. So when people are going, why haven't they been charged? Because it's alleged that they've broken the rules and that I know it's not this simple in lawyer talk, but it's literally like, oh, hang on, we've not done all this that you said. We can prove it.
So essentially, Savva, Everton have gone, yes, we did that. Yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
They've been very transparent about it. And instead, Man City have been really evasive. They're just dragging it out, contesting everything. Yeah, they're just dominant.
Go on, sorry. Go on, mate.
No, it is different because what Everton have done is breached the fair play rules in regards to obviously losing too much money. That comes after the whole COVID thing as well, doesn't it? So everyone was given a bit of a stay because of that, and then it's just been continued. Look, Everton have been run poorly by their owners. People will then say, but Daniel Levy hasn't done it with Spurs, but I'm sorry, to be a football club and put more into your business than you do your football club, I'm sorry you've run them poorly. There's just obviously different than being running them poorly or just being ridiculously stupid with money. What Man City have done is, in a sense, cheated. That's why it's going to take a longer process to sort it out, because from what I've seen or what I've obviously looked into, haven't they been pretty much putting money through the club by the guy himself doing it through like different businesses and all that? And it's been
creating different entities under different names and siphoning money through it, right?
So basically, they're cheating and they're not saying they're cheating. They're like, well, we haven't done anything wrong. And that's why it's taken longer. I agree with what Jordan just said. Obviously, Everton's the president now. that's obviously where it started. If other teams break the same thing in regards to what Everton done, obviously lose money and break the rules, then they should get the same, if not more. I mean, if Everton challenge, which they are, and they then rescind it to like 5 points or 4 points, fair enough. But then they have to do the same with other teams who break the same rules as Everton do. With regards to Man City and Chelsea, it's a completely different area.
Yeah.
In regards to they're literally trying to cheat the league.
It's not like for like, is it? That's the thing, Alan. When they're all going, oh, everyone's charged Everton, City should be charged. It's like, well, hang on. I think it's two very different things. And City have probably got I'm saying probably. I guarantee they've got the best lawyers that money can buy.
But you should. Can you not also look at? Sorry, go on.
No, sorry. In Italy, if I remember rightly, teams like who was it, Juventus and somebody else were found to be cheating, and they got relegated. The rule should say
Iggy's speciality.
That was for the Calciopoli though. That was the match fixing and stuff. It was more.
So that happened, and they got relegated. These teams are, by all in essence, cheating and trying to obviously winning trophies and taking away So for me, they should have the same type of thing where if they are obviously found guilty of all 115 in Chelsea, where they're doing wrong and all that, and they're cheating the league and cheating.
I think there's too much interest for Man City to not have them. To not get them done. That's my.
They're too important to the brand, aren't they?
Everyone knows what they're doing. Everybody knows what they're doing, but they will never be found. They will never be charged for it. But it's just too powerful.
No, that's the thing.
Chelsea.
If we're basically saying that they can cheat and do whatever they're doing and break the rules time and time again, but we can't.
They're doing it.
Man City and Chelsea. No, but they don't get punished, and we don't punish them because of Man City and Chelsea. We're basically saying we might as well give up with this league because Man City and Chelsea.
No. I'm not saying we give up. I'm saying that they find them. They find them, and it's like, you know what? Just charge us. We'll pay the money, because they need to start hitting them where it really hurts in points and relegation.
Do you know what can I tell you what? Do you know what I think is going to happen? You call me Savradamus if you like. For anybody who understands that play on words, I've got a feeling. Can you imagine being Nostradamus? Well, actually, he's dead, isn't he? But I've gone complete tangent here. I think what they'll do is, I reckon they'll bring this charge down to 3 or 4 points for Everton on appeal. Then I think what they'll do is they'll charge when Man City and Chelsea get round to being charged.
Look at Everton, we charge them 4 points.
Right, I reckon they'll give Man City or Chelsea 6 points. And let's be brutally honest, right? Let's be brutally honest, guys. This is my conspiracy theories going mad. If you turn around to Man City and said, we're going to knock you 6 points, Man City will go, we'll have that, and we still fancy our chances of winning the title. Do you know what I mean? Right? If you knock 10 points away, they're probably, okay, well, hang on, to win a title by 10 points is a lot. But okay, all right, we don't win a title for 1 year. It's not the end of the world. So what's the deterrent to a Man City?
But I think there's got to be a heavier severity in punishment, just based on the fact that if you look at it from a public sort of criminal and defence perspective, if, as you say, Everton have gone, yeah, that was us, and you get that whole, if you plead guilty,
Jordan QC over here.
Yeah, but if you plead guilty, you get a lesser sense. The fact that City and Chelsea have challenged it and gone, no, we'll take this to trial if you like. And if they then still get found guilty, you can't just give them 6 points.
But is there any win here for me, John? Because look, the governing bodies are already under enough pressure that why haven't they done whatever? Whatever they give to City, right? And I don't think, by the way, this is any time soon, by the way, for anyone thinking
at least a couple of years.
Yeah, this is years. I think that their lawyers are going to, this is like if anyone takes McDonald's to court. You think you're going up against McDonald's lawyers and getting anything? Do you know what I mean, right? I think whatever they do to Man City, people will have a problem with. If it's 5 points, what's 5 points? If it's a £50 million fine, what's a £50 million fine? If it's 10 points, I don't know how there's any. I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't know if there's a deterrent here. Everton, if they get relegated, that's the deterrent. Right, the deterrent is we wouldn't have got relegated without that. They cheated, don't cheat.
But it's also the teams that did get relegated last season and Everton stayed up. They are now saying they're suing Everton as well. Right, so I'm where does this because they're like, well, they should have gone down then, and we should have stayed up. That costs them money for not staying up. So this is just imploded. It's gonna go nuts now that this has happened. So. But in regards to City and Chelsea, man, I just think they have too much political power to
I
get
agree.
done, and it's a sad. It's just it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Savva. They've got the biggest one, mate, and when they've got the biggest one on the table,
I agree with Alan. Then what's the point? Then what's the point? What are we all doing? Why are we doing this? Let's all just pack it in and go, well, City, whatever.
Okay, does anyone see them relegating Man City? Let's take this to.
But I think that's how harsh it needs to be.
Okay, but does anyone see it happening?
No, of course not.
Right? Why not? Why would they not turn around and go, all right, Man City, you're going down to League One or the Championship?
They're too important to the Premier League as a brand. You lose two of your top competing teams in the brand, and all of a sudden it's
listen. By the time this happens, the owners could have gone. Could have said, "You know what? We're done. We've cleaned it all up. We've got all the trophies. See you later. Go back to wherever they came from." And say, the new owners are coming in. They'll take the brunt for it.
But that is the case with Chelsea, isn't it? Pretty much, it's nothing to do with it now. It's all to do with previous ownership, isn't it? So
well, hang on. This is what Hass and I from South Coys, we were listening to this on in his car on the way back from Liverpool, and it was really good because Simon Jordan was asked, "Hang on, is it fair that these Chelsea owners are having to pick up the brunt of what the previous owners did?" And Simon Jordan went, "Yes, that's how business works. You can't just say, oh, those owners have gone, sweep all the misdemeanors under the carpet."
You knew that was happening when you took the club on.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not the personnel, it's the business.
But then what do they look like? Like right now, let's be fair. In this transition season for Chelsea, if you offered Chelsea 6 to 10 points deduction, they'd probably go, all right, well, we're not winning the league this year anyway. All right, cool. All right, we'll take that. Everton, this could relegate them. I'm not saying it will. There's loads of time for them to get out of it. But that's if Everton go down by anywhere in between 1 and 10 points, that's why. So I don't understand what's going to come out of all of this. Where does it stop? Are you telling me that these are the only clubs that are in breach of this? Because I don't believe that in any way, shape or form, that it's just Man City, Chelsea and...
Well, like you say, it opens Pandora's box, doesn't it? How far back do you go? Do you change results? Do you strip titles? Do you give titles to other people?
Right.
And this is why it should have never been allowed in the first place. It's a failing on the league. It's a failing on all of the sporting bodies, as you mentioned, to only start trying to clamp down on it now. It's almost like, has it gone too far? And this is just the sport we play. And is it better to just go, everybody spend whatever the hell you want and do it however, let everybody else cheat as well? Is that the fairest way to do it, as opposed to trying to rein it all back in?
I'm just trying to. I think we're looking at it. We're all trying to put it all together, and it's different. It really is, because Everton have been forthcoming in regards. This is how we're doing business. We've lost this, that, and the other. But the other, I don't know the actual Chelsea scenario, but Man City have literally been having this money to buy players or putting money into the club, saying it's from legitimate places, but it's not. So they're actually being deceitful. They're cheating. So it's different. I think we need to separate the Everton thing completely to the Man City and Chelsea thing.
But Alan, I don't understand how.
So I look, from what I believe, from what I've looked into, is the fact that they're basically, it's the guy who owns Man City putting money through clubs to say that they're putting it into City when it's not. It's coming from him, and I think that's how it's working. So basically, he's not really allowed. He's not allowed to do that, but other companies are putting into who don't exist.
But why? Like Man City must earn a ton of money every year from player sales, a ton of money every year from Champions leagues. I'm not saying I don't understand any of it. Listen, I'm not sitting here pretending that I understand the ins and outs of the finances of football. Yeah. But it doesn't seem to make any sense, because they sell a shed load of footballers every year. If you actually look at their spending for the last 5 years, it's slowed down massively in terms of, if you look at the net profit, in terms of the books being balanced. I don't understand how they would be in this much financial trouble.
There's something to do with how much you can spend of football generated revenue back into the football operation. So it's more about pushing some of that money into stuff which isn't football related revenue, which you can then also funnel back into the football team. So it's more about diversifying that and going, that's come from that sponsor, that's come from this, and actually it's not. It's all come from the same place, and they're just siphoning that money through those different avenues.
There you go. So obviously, exactly what I wanted to say in a nutshell. Thanks.
Sorry, mate.
What did you say?
QC Jordan. QC Jordan.
Sorry, guys.
But the thing is, Alan, the thing is, and guys, I'm only going to go for another 5 minutes, and then, by the way, I will be redirecting everyone over to Sean and Henry's show. Look, what do they do though? Because if they do have to relegate somebody, like this is a great point, and it probably won't happen, right? It probably won't happen. And we are going to go in like 3 or 4 minutes. Don't worry. But somebody said, so what if they do relegate Chelsea or City? Does that mean 5 teams go down? Does that mean that only one goes down plus those 2? Like, this is, as you said, this is Pandora's box. This could just get really nasty. And then every time anybody spends money, there's going to be, oh, look into them. You've got to look into them. Is this the danger of FFP and not letting people just spend what they want?
I think, yeah, but I think if you just let people spend what they want, those with unlimited resources in your Newcastle, Man City can just be ridiculous, and 100 million here, 150 million here, who have got like billions and upon billions. I think you then, I mean, people will say it's actually monopolized anyway with the way it is. But look, I think those that are cheating, like potentially Man City and Chelsea are, because obviously innocent proven guilty, but it looks like that's what they've been doing. Something has happened. I think somebody in your comments said about, I think it was WKW said about, well, obviously strip them of titles. Would that be a deterrent? Probably not, because people would never really recognise, like, let's be on it. Like, if all of a sudden they stripped Man City at the 16-17 and was like, Spurs are champions, I wouldn't want that championship because it's tarnished. And then people would be like, well, you're not really champions anyway. It was Man City. It was done. So I don't think it's going to be a deterrent. For me, relegation is the only thing. But then how do they go about it? Like you said,
but is relegation a deterrent though? Like, Iggy, just really quickly, because I know we're going to end the show in 2 minutes. Is relegation a deterrent? Let's be brutally honest. If Man City get relegated, Man City are just going to win the league next year by winning 46 games out of 46. They're going to come flying back up. Their youth team is going to win that league, even if they have to lose some of their big players. Is that a deterrent? Like, is there a deterrent?
Now, listen, if they do find them guilty, and then it has to be beyond any reasonable doubt, they get caught deal with. It would say they will go down for the following season. They wouldn't do it in the same sort of or season.
Yeah.
The same way Juventus player did. In that Juventus, someone brought up and said it went down in 06. Their best players stayed. Only a few of them left, but the rest of them, really, the Del Pieros and Buffon, they stayed and came back and won the league the following season. It didn't stop them dominating, and wouldn't stop Man City doing the same, because they know it's just that one season.
Yeah. Listen, look, Jordan, I'll come to you to have the last say before we finish. Look, I'm not. By the way, I'm not condoning any of this in any way. I think. Listen, I think football has become a joke. I think it's got ridiculous now. And I think this comment I've seen here from Tarns, big up Tarns, is always in the chat, said this is why they need to just scrap FFP, just have a spending limit per transfer window that clubs can't go over. Would that solve it? Why is it not simplistic enough to say, right, every club, every summer can only spend £150 million, or this has got to be your net after the win? Why do we make it so complicated with 3 years down the line, 2 years down? Why don't they just do that?
You should live within your means. Savva, if you're earning 200 grand a year and I'm earning 50 grand a year, I can't live my life the way you do, because you're earning. Do you see what I mean? The same as the clubs. If Man City they've got this amount and they can spend that, and you as Everton, or listen, I can say any team, you got to live within your means. You cannot go chasing the big chaser, because ultimately you're going to end up screwing yourself. And this is what's happened right now. But that's not to say that you've got to break rules. You've got to still do it in the right manner. So, yeah.
But if we listen, I know we could talk about this all day, but if they implemented something like this where everybody's allowed to spend the same amount of money each window, it does then stop the Premier League being the power league, doesn't it? Because all of a sudden, if I'm, let's use, for example, who spent over 100 million on a player this window? So Chelsea went and bought Caicedo for 115 million. If we were saying every club could spend 150 million, they've now got 35 million left to go and do what they need to do. And that then stops.
But also the market would have to take a hit. The market will come down. You wouldn't be able to buy players for 100 million.
Sure, but you see what I'm saying. I just don't know why they don't do that. But listen, guys, we could go round and round and round.
Yeah.
As I said, I don't want to eat into the other guy's show because they always redirect to me when it's the other way around. Listen, Alan, thanks for coming on, mate. Really do appreciate your time, as always.
No worries. Thanks for having me on.
Everybody, you can find Alan at Time Added On. The link is in the description of the show as well. It's on his page here, so please go and subscribe to him. Iggy at Tottenham Away. Big up, Iggy. Thanks for giving me your Sunday evening. Appreciate it.
It's wicked. I've enjoyed it. It's a really good show. Thanks, guys.
No,
Big
cheers,
up
mate.
to everyone
really
in the
appreciate
chat,
that.
by the way.
Yeah. Listen, it's been good today. No trolls so far. No trolls. I say so far. We've got an hour and a half for no trolls. Jordan, thanks, mate. Long time no see. Don't leave it as long to next time, please.
No, it was a pleasure. Great panel. Good to meet you guys. And hopefully we'll be back soon.
Perfect. Listen, everybody, please get over now. I've redirected you. It will take you straight into, I don't know whose channel it's on, either Sean's or Henry's, for Tottenham Takes episode 6. Please, when you get in there, hashtag Savva Raid. Let them know that I've sent you over. Big love. Thank you to everyone. And as always, come on.
Come on, you Spurs.
You Spurs.